a Greek entrepreneur in ecom, but he lived in New York. He left Greece 10 years ago after he finished his studies. For a Greek who is in ecom and very successful in ecom, how do you find staying in Greece? Is it a deterrent? Is it easier? How do you find it?
Oh man, to be honest, I love it here because I was born and raised, and I never actually left my country to live anywhere else. I've traveled a lot. I've been like to 25, 26 countries all over the world, except from Australia, on that continent. But I find it here to be really relaxed. People are nice, most of them. People are nice. Food is amazing. Weather is really, really good, and everything here is cheap. In terms of e-commerce and trying to level up, it's really, really difficult to get inspired here. Obviously, there are a few good players that they do really, really high numbers, but when you are already, and I don't say that to seem like a dick or something like that, but when you are on a good level, you want to get inspired and you want to get better. So every time I travel, and I go to the States or somewhere in Europe or even Asia, and I see all these crazy entrepreneurs doing the really, really high numbers, and I get to learn systems, processes, how to build a business and mistakes, I get really, really pumped. And I'm like, man, I gotta ramp up. I'm playing way, way too small. But when I come back to Greece, it feels like, oh, I'm already doing good. So that's not good.
It's true. That's true. And I think that's a big thing. Like I can't name 10 people who are high level. I don't want to, say who's high level, who's not, but who are on the same high level that I would say you are on, just from how I perceive what I've seen on YouTube, what I've seen the data that you've done. I can't name a solid 10 people who are at that high level in e-commerce, just building brands and marketing. I don't know that many, and my network is reasonably global. And I think it's a loss because a lot of the Greeks I know who aren't in Greece, like I know a lot of great entrepreneurs and great business people, online business people, who do really well, but they don't live in Greece. And I mean, in terms of, let's call it ease of doing business, how do you find Greece for online businesses? I mean, call it taxes, setting up a business. How have you had that experience?
Oh man, it's terrible here. It's not. I don't want to say terrible because I live here, obviously, and I'm Greek. But in terms of business, setting up a business, there are way, way better options, and especially online. If we're talking about online in general, I think that Estonia is a great option. Also, Cyprus is a great option. Not so much for e-commerce, but pretty much if you have like a consulting business, a digital marketing agency, a software as a service, something like that. Greece is nice. Greece is good, but nothing exceptional. In the past 4 or 5 years, I've seen people making a few steps to try to make it better, to make things a little bit easier for the people. But tax-wise or anything else, I wouldn't recommend it. I have a Greek business just because I have to, but I have other established businesses as well. Because here in Greece, it's like you are a partner with the government, and they literally, if they offered you something, I would say I would gladly would be paying the taxes if they offered me something that was really, really of a value. They don't. Although they've made a few tiny steps, I wouldn't recommend anyone to come to Greece and open a business here.
And that's the thing. It's for me. I left Australia. I left in 2018, and I said, okay, I can travel with this business. I read the 4-Hour Work Week, which I know you've read and you love that. For me, it was the same. It changed my world. Completely changed how I thought, how I operated. I go, great. I'm out of here. I'm paying some of the highest rent and expenses in Sydney. Let me just travel. And I did that for a long time, and of course, I went to Greece, and I realized I would happily live in Greece. If it made sense from a business perspective, made sense from a conscription perspective. Like for me, I would have to do 9 months of military service before I could live here. Like I can't even live here in Greece. I can't even live there if I wanted to. They make it so difficult just to I want to bring this innovation to this business, to Greece, but they make it so difficult. but look, there's only so much you can do. I think there's definitely people in Greece who are slowly becoming, I think, like something like you mentioned, people who inspire others. For example, for me, I'm a broker, so I talk with a lot of buyers, people with money looking to buy businesses, to invest. And some of the VCs in Greece, I mean, they're doing really big things. I'm not sure if you've heard of like Venture Friends.
No.
So they had like it's kind of like HelloFresh, like delivering groceries online app, and they invested in like that kind of an app, but in the Arab world, and they sold it for like 300-400 million. So they made a ton of money. So and they're doing big moves like that. I'm like, here's a good VC doing that. It's not like there's no money, and I don't think there's a lack of effort. I think it's just a lack of people wanting to stand up and at least talk about it. I mean, when I got to Greece in 2018, 2018 was fucked up, right? Greece was like some of the worst years for the crisis, the refugee and immigrant crisis too. It was highly. I was staying in Victoria in Athens, so the worst place in Athens basically. I couldn't leave the train station without stepping over people sleeping in the streets. I'm like, this is bad. But then you know what? I was in Athens in January, February, then June, July as well, and it wasn't as bad. It was much better. I think there was real progress, but at the end of the day, I think there's potential for people to kind of stand up and be those people who inspire others, but it's tough when the government's almost going out of their way to make you not succeed.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But with that being said, this is the first time we've chatted, so I don't know that much about you, which is a good opportunity to learn from the start how you got into entrepreneurship, into business at all. Did you go to university? What did your parents want you to do? Did you go to do conscription? What's the story?
So honestly, for me, entrepreneurship, it wasn't something like I can tell you that, from a very, very young age, I wanted to do this and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I studied to be an accountant, and I worked for 5 years as an assistant accountant. And the only good thing is that I learned a lot about the business. I learned a lot about the financial side. I learned a lot about profit, expenses, revenue, how to deduct expenses. I learned a lot about taxes, which were very, very useful. But other than that, I really, really hated every nanosecond because, here in Greece, and I think in many other countries, but here in Greece, being like an accountant, it's like being in the lowest level that an employee could be. So they were always trying to undermine me, not me personally, everybody who worked at, as an accountant right there in the companies. And I started changing companies one after another. I think I changed like 4 or 5, thinking that, it was the actual business that I was working, that it wasn't good. Then I realized that it was me who was the problem. Like I couldn't stand taking orders. People started, discriminating a lot. People started treating me like shit. Like, oh, go make me a coffee. Go buy me a sandwich. Like, go ahead and sweep the floor, shit like that. And I was like, man, these are ridiculous things. These are ridiculous things. Like, okay, I want to help. I'll make you a coffee, but this is not why I came here. Like my goal is, the goal I came here, the reason I came to this work is, to be an assistant accountant, to learn and actually help into this business. And they always had the mentality, oh man, like we are a small company and everybody needs to help. And I'm like, nah, no, I don't like that. So after a few months, like 6 months, 8 months in a company, I left on another company. Again, 3-4 months, again and again and again. And then I remember back in 2009, it was Christmas after we have finished a really nice family dinner. And I couldn't stop thinking that, on Monday I had to go back to work, to work that I really, really hated. And I typed in how to make money online on Google. I think a lot of people started like that. Honestly, I didn't know about making money online. I didn't know about e-commerce. I didn't know about Facebook, Google, none of that shit. So I typed in make money online, and there was a Greek blog, which is still available today, makemoneyonline.gr. I started reading a lot and getting excited about the opportunity. So I started reading about affiliate marketing, article marketing back in the day, forum marketing, and a little bit about Google Ads. Facebook Ads wasn't a thing back in 2009. And then I stumbled upon a Greek marketing agency because I typed in Greek internet marketing without knowing that there is an actual company named Greek Internet Marketing. I wanted to see what's going on with internet marketing in Greece. So I stumbled upon an agency and I had no idea about marketing. So I find the dude, I hit him up and say, his name is Charles. Like, hi, Charles, very, very nice to meet you. Dimitris, I have no idea about digital marketing, but I'm really, really excited. So he told me, hey, man, come and meet up. Are you good at writing? How's your English? I said, okay, it's okay. Like, my English wasn't as good as it is today. So he told me, okay, I want you to write an article for me, and I'll pay you like €6 for that article about digital marketing. And, I started researching digital marketing. Anyway, the article was not good, of course, but it was like, oh, shit, man, I made €6.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't so much about the money. Yeah, it was about the opportunity. Like, oh, man, someone else paid me €6 for something else that hasn't to do with accounting. So, long story short, I started working with Charles. I started working on the side. So I learned a lot. And I'm really, really grateful because he was my first mentor and he was the very first person to trust me and give me some money. I started writing, in forums, articles and blog posts and a little bit of Google Ads. Then I said to myself, you know what? I want to focus 100% on digital marketing. So I quit my job and I started working with a guy. Then I couldn't really believe I could make money on my own. I always thought that, oh, digital marketing, okay, someone can hire me so I could run the ads for them or write articles for them. And so I jumped on to another bigger agency, the second biggest agency in Greece. And then this is where I fell in love with e-commerce. And since 2011, 2012, I started going deep diving inside, Google Analytics, Google Ads, e-commerce, understanding funnels, understanding the metrics. Until 2015, I think it was, where I said, you know what, man, I'm happy, but I'm not happy. I'm not really happy. Like, because I was working at that job, no one was really busting my balls. No one was really telling me, hey, man, do that, sweep the floors, stuff like that. So I was working as I'm working today, but I still wasn't working for myself. So I said, fuck that, man. I'll quit my job. So I quit my job. And then 2 days after I quit my job, we were hit with capital controls. So Greece was hit with capital controls. And that literally meant that I couldn't run any ads. I couldn't run Google ads, Facebook ads. We couldn't take any money outside of the bank, only like €60 per day. That means $70. PayPal blocked. So I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do. And then, man, it was like really, really hard time for me. For 3 months in a row, I was making $0. As a married man, I started feeling like shit about myself. I cannot provide for myself. I cannot provide for my wife, for our house. And then I started feeling, getting into depression, really, really bad into depression. Or like one day I woke up after 3 months. I came back from vacation. I said, man, I felt that this thing was eating me. And I said, no, I won't let you eat me. I'll fucking eat you. So I woke up one day and I said, okay, I'll start cold calling businesses. This is the only thing I could think. But I was really afraid to say that, hey, man, I want to run the Google ads for you. I want to provide my services. So I started typing into Google different kind of things like jewelry or electronic cigarettes or, no, electronic cigarettes wasn't a thing. But so, random keywords, and I tried to find mistakes in the ads. So I would call them and say, yeah, hello, I'm really, really interested in that watch you have. By the way, you have a mistake in your ad. So majority of the people told me, oh, man, thank you so much. Which we'll get to fix that. Which watch are you interested in? I'm like, shit, that didn't work. But in phone call number 7, I was really, really lucky to have one guy. He said, "Man, where do you know this stuff?" I said, I didn't call you for that reason, although yes, I did. But I used to run on an agency. He says, "Do you know about Google Ads?" Yeah, yeah, of course. Do you know about Facebook Ads? Yeah, 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 of course. Do you know about SEO? No matter what he would ask me, I would have said yes,
Yeah.
because I really, really, really needed the money. So long story short, I go out there, we meet with a guy, and I do Facebook ads, Google ads, social media posts, I think for 250 euros per day. Per month. And I'm like, okay, it's not crazy, but still something.
Something
That
in 2015 Greece, that's a lot. That's something is a
yeah,
lot.
250 was really, really nice. So I said, man, that worked. Let me repeat the process. So I repeat the process, and then I found another client for 350, and then another client for 550 or five, something like that. So I said, oh man, like 1,000, 1,100 euros per month. That's amazing. This is how much I was making in my previous job. So long story short, everything changed the moment I said, you know what, I see that in Greece I can do a few things, but if I want to level up, I have to go outside Greece and meet other people. So as I was still working on a job, just before that depression thing happened, there was an actual event happening in Orlando, Florida. I was making 1,100 euros per month back then in my job. And there was an event, and with air tickets, the ticket of the event, hotels and stuff like that, I needed to spend like 3,500 or 33, something like that. So I asked my wife, and I told her like this, there is an opportunity for me. What should I do? I really, really want to do this. She said, go. I believe in you. And I go there and I meet all these crazy people, all these crazy entrepreneurs, and will say, hey, what do you do, man? Like, I work in an agency. I'm like, come on, you're kidding. Like, you have so much knowledge about this stuff. You need to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And this is when I came back, and like my money was open. And I decided to quit my job. And one of the guys that I met right there, his name is Matt Smith. He told me, hey, dude, like, you are really, really good at what you do, especially with Google Ads. I'm launching a new course. It's going to call Physical Product System. I want you to do the Google Ads part, where you're going to teach others how to do Google Ads. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then a couple months afterwards, the launch was a thing in October 2015. It made in total $285,000. And Matt told me, hey man, you need to get like $10,000. I'm like, what? $10,000 just because I gave my knowledge, like in 3 days that it took me to shoot all the videos and stuff like that. 2-3 hours worth of videos, nothing crazy. This is where I realized that, man, I can go on my own.
Yeah.
And after that, I started, attending mastermind events. I started doing my own high ticket masterminds in Greece. I started working with a lot of e-commerce businesses and focusing mostly on the scaling part. I always focused on e-commerce. And focused on the scaling part with Google Analytics. I started doing my own trainings, and I did launches. People started inviting me into events to speak. So I spoke into over 20 events in 15 countries. And at this time, I am a co-owner of an agency where we are a Facebook premium agency and a Google Premier partner. We manage a couple of $1 million per month in ad spend. And we have like the training and consulting business where we do the masterminds, workshops, and stuff like that. And here we are. It was I tried to condense it as much as possible.
Man, that's crazy. There's so many parts, that I want to kind of touch on that I loved. So like I work backwards. So at the moment, do you have your own e-commerce brands, or do you just manage other people's through your agency?
So right now we only focus 100% on managing other people's brands. Because I had in the past, stores of my own, but I realized and I'm 100% being honest right here. There are many, many parts that I love about this business, but there are a few parts that I don't. And I don't love the customer support. I don't.
Everyone does.
No one really does, and I don't really love having to wait for a couple of weeks for the products to be delivered from China and then getting stuck in customs. Although I've done it and I like the process. I realize that I'm much better focusing on helping others, and I think that's more fair to our clients as well, because people can think that, hey man, you're running your own shed, so maybe there is how it's called in English, like maybe there is a bounce of like you versus me or something like that. So I said, you know what, it's better because I prefer to be the third person in a business, the partner in business, where we handle all the advertising, all the funnels, all the numbers on how we can improve our numbers, rather than focus on shit, man, why the shipment took so long and why this guy is shouting and why did we send like the last order. Although I've been into every little part of the business, literally into every little part of the business. So that gives you the opportunity to focus on only where you love.
Yeah. With your clients, are they mostly American? How many are Greek? What percentage of your clients would be Greek?
No Greek, no Greek. We had that in the past, and I'm not busing into Greek people. We are both Greek. I actually live here in Greece as well, but there is something about the mentality. There is something about like, oh no, you're not smarter than me. At least, and I don't want to generalize because that's a stupid thing to do. But I don't want to generalize. But unfortunately, almost every Greek business that I had to work with, at one time or another, either they try to trick me with money, or to trick me not paying me, or paying me less, or I can't really see what you did.
Yeah.
So for a long time, when you make the money, it's all good. When it drops for a month, where it's normal, I cannot understand why should I pay you so much money. So I'm not saying that we don't have that problems with other businesses. Mainly, we focus on United States, so we have a lot of US-based clients. We have a few in Europe, and yeah, that's about it. And I think one that is based in Asia, but it's like the target market again is in United States.
Yeah, no, that's something. I mean, the Greek mentality. I think of all the reasons why it's difficult to operate online businesses in Greece, it's the mentality by far is the worst. That's the worst thing. And I think what it is, and I see the same, in Turkey. I have a bunch of clients in Turkey, in Eastern Europe, in Southeast Asia. A lot of these countries, it's just in America, most brands and most business owners know that there are good and bad months. That's a part of business. And they can go to you, they can go to 50, other agencies. They know like, this is just how things operate. There's just not enough experience in Greece. The online and digital marketing world isn't old enough in Greece for people to have like at least general knowledge about this is how the business world operates. There's good, there's bad months, and you need to, if you don't operate well, you're gonna have a bad reputation. That is just, I don't think that's something that's registered or it's old enough in Greece yet. I remember in 2018 when I was in Greece, I was running a marketing agency and I just had e-commerce brokers on the side. And I got to Greece, and firstly, when I said to my cousin, I'm like, "Get that? Look, I'm going to get a bunch of marketing clients. I'm going to create their content, do their campaign. I'm going to do the whole funnel for them." He goes, "No chance. Forget about it." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, I haven't gotten a job in 3 years. You're going to come in 2 minutes and find your clients. Like, not like this, bro. Don't waste your time. I go, "Okay." I'm cold calling. In my shitty Greek, I'm cold calling, travel agencies, hotels, airlines, you name it. And I'm cold calling. It took me more than 7 calls. It took me about 70 calls. But one out of every 50 or something, they'd be like, "Look, we're interested. Let's have a chat." Most people are like, "We don't do digital marketing. We don't do this. We don't do that." I go, firstly, how? How are you not doing digital marketing? What I would do, I did something similar to you. I look at their website. I go, "Look, the website's from 1999. It's terrible. So I'll make your website for $3,000 or whatever it was. And then I'll create the content. I'll create a Facebook campaign, Google ads, whatever it might be. And we can go from there." And most said no, some said yes. but I had the same thing, like literally a drop in, a month of revenue, especially when it's seasonal. Like some months go down, some months go up, especially around travel agencies. The summer is the biggest part. And people will just pull out from, the service. Okay, the same thing like you said with money, invoices being unpaid. I'm chasing up 3 months after the service is done. It's like, I wouldn't have this problem in Australia or America or, Western Europe. They pay within 7 days, within 14 days, But with that being said, I also saw what you mentioned about, I like to dig into the nitty gritty of entrepreneurship. It's good to chat, and we'll chat about, the good times, all the big numbers you've done. But I like to go deep into like the depression, that period you had, right? Because I had the same thing. For me, it was last year. It was, a 3 to 4 month period where I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was behind. My businesses were in shambles. I was fucked up mentally more than anything. For you, what was how did you get out of it? That's my big question. I always ask myself, for example, if you were to go back into a depression, a bad period, a depression period, what would you do, to get out of that? What was kind of your strategy, and what would be your strategy?
Man, honestly, I was reading something yesterday, which I took a screenshot of it, and I wanted to find it, and I want to share it with you because it had to do exactly with what you said about depression, and it's called like the dark side of entrepreneurship, and says having your own business can be fun, but due to the risk and insecurities, entrepreneurs are twice more likely to suffer from depression, 6 times more likely to suffer from ADHD, 3 times more likely to suffer from substance abuse, 10 times more likely to suffer from bipolar disorder, psychiatric hospitalization, twice as much likely to have suicidal thoughts. And I'll tell you something. This is something that very, very, very few people are open and willing to share. Because majority of the people, if you watch people's Instagram, you will say, man, he's living or she's living the most amazing life. He's traveling the world. He has like great cars. He has a yacht. He travels always like first class, business class, whatever. And then when you have like a private conversation, he says like, it's all a fad, man.
Yeah.
It's all a fad. I have to maintain an image, or, I don't want to be open about my situation. So for me, honestly, I think that every entrepreneur in this world have gone through that. Either it's a small depression or a big depression. The biggest for me, it was back in 2015 because I quit my job and I didn't know what to do. I won't lie, there were times in the past 5 years where, I lost my road. I didn't know where I was going. There were times that I came here to the office and I was lost. I was looking at the screen and, what did I do today to progress in business? What did I do today to, to do revenue for my business? Nothing. And I think it's part of doing business. It's part of being an entrepreneur. So for me, back then, it was like 3 months in a row. I was feeling the pressure inside me. I was feeling that little thing right here on my chest, like eating me every single day. Didn't want to get up from bed. Although I had like a terrible sleep and nightmares at night, and someone is hunting me down, or someone is trying to kill me or to rob me or something like that. I didn't even want to open my computer. I was always trying to avoid things like, okay, let's go for a coffee. I was spending money I didn't have, trying to get away from it. And then one day, I remember it was like yesterday. I was right in front of the computer and it was a full day of watching TV series. I don't even remember what it was. And like, man, I'm like 3 months in a row, I'm married. Okay, what the fuck are you doing with your life? I started feeling this thing eating me more and more and more every single day. So either you will let it eat you, or you will wake up. I said to myself, like I was looking outside. I didn't want to keep watching like the TV series, and I started thinking. The very first time, I started thinking clearly, and I said, either you are going to let this thing, what is eating you, eat you, or are you are going to wake up and do something about it. So that was the moment that I sat down my computer and said, fuck it, man, let's do it. Like I don't want to keep feeling like shit like for 3 months in a row. I will keep crying or I will start doing something. And that was the moment that honestly I didn't really think about it. I didn't think about my option. I said, okay, cold calling it is. Cold calling it is. And I started cold calling businesses literally right on the spot. And I was lucky enough, it was on the cold call number 7. Cold call number 7, and I got my first client. So for me, if someone else is watching and feeling like shit, like the best advice I can give you is that, first of all, you're not alone. First of all, you are not alone. And, no matter what you do, there are always going to be a friend or someone you know, or someone even that you don't know personally that might have been through a similar situation and can mentally help you. The second thing is I would say that I would try to relax a little bit and get away from the screen, get away from my computer, get away from my phone all day. For me, something that really, really helped me, because 2 years ago, again, I started feeling that little thing, where the fuck do I go, what I want to do. So one thing that really personally helped me is I took the whole day off. I didn't bring my phone with me. I had it with me, but it was sat down. I took a notepad, a paper, and I went down to my favorite place in Athens. It was at the beach. It was December 2018, so we're talking like less than 2 years ago. And I started writing, what do you want? How do you feel? Like, started talking to myself and be really, really grateful, feeling that gratitude for all the things that I accomplished already, that we take for a given. We take as a given that, I have the ability to go from Athens to Copenhagen,
Yeah.
where you are right now. Some people never been abroad.
Yeah.
So we take things for a given. We take things for a given that, for the place, the house that we live, for the clothes that we are wearing, that we have like 50 euros in our pocket or whatever that is. So I'm not telling you that it immediately made a shift, but it helped me tremendously to understand that, health is above everything. And this is why I keep saying, like, if we are mental health and we are physically health, I don't care about anything else. Like, even if I lose everything today, I know that I have the right mindset to be able to come back even stronger this time.
Sure. And that's been a common thing I've chatted with everyone that's been on this podcast. I always say the health side. And for me, it's, what you said is specifically what happened with me. For me, you might, on my Instagram, on my YouTube, it's all, I'm traveling, it's fun, friends, drinking, clubbing, it's fantastic. And that's great. But I also want to, with the vlogs that I do, I want to document the shit side of entrepreneurship, the reality. And that's what I ever wanted to do, is document the process. And with that, that's when I had a job I took a job when I was broke. I got to take a job, and I got fired. I'm like, fuck. And I was lost again. And then that happened a year later again. And that was last year. And I was like, fuck, this is, everything's such a mess. But on my Instagram, it looks like I'm killing it. And people are like, dude, every time I call friends from Australia or Greece, they're like, bro, you're killing it. It's amazing. I'm like, I'm smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I'm eating way too much food. I'm barely going to the gym. My business is dead. I'm making no money, and I'm spending more than I make. So I'm like, it couldn't be worse. But that's why with my vlogs, I'm super honest. Like, I recently made a vlog. I'm like, this is the biggest failure of 2020. It's my biggest failure. I fucked up, or this and that. I think that honestly, because it's easy for, the entrepreneur videos and the movies and stuff. It's like, I was good, and I've always been good. I've always succeeded. I'm like, okay, I know you're good, and I understand how you did that, but I want to know how you got out of the bad times, because that's the hard part. For me, it's doing well and continuing to do well is tough, but to start, the first step is always the hardest. And for me, it started with health as well. For me, like I said, I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I was living in Bali, and then I went to Greece. The cigarettes are cheap compared to Australia. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I'm barely working out. My diet is terrible. And I saw that you lost, I think it was 8 kilos, you said. And I went through a similar thing. Like, actually, this time last year, I left Greece, and I went to live in Hungary for 3 months, in Budapest. And I kind of kicked into gear what I want to achieve in terms of health and business. And the first step was health. It was one small things like meditating for 10 minutes a day. And I don't do it enough, but meditating at least a few times a week. And every single morning I write in my diary, what's my plan for the week? How am I feeling? What are my thoughts? Kind of like you did it at the beach. And then, exercise daily, eating well. And I lost like, I don't know what it was. It was like 15 kilos in the last year. And it completely changed everything. And for me, I look back in the last year, and it's not a coincidence that my health went from terrible to great, and my business went from terrible to great. It's not a coincidence that happened at the same time, and my mental health as well. So that's definitely a big thing, I think. And I think, a lot of entrepreneurs go through that, but they never talk about that. Because for me, I had the same mentality. I was like, one of my insecurities is that I'm so young as an entrepreneur. So people look at, I thought in my head, I've always said, like, why would someone listen to me? Why would they want my advice? I'm so young, people are going to be like, who the fuck are you? But I mean, slowly, I showed that, like, if I got value to add, no one gives a fuck about where you're from, who you are, it doesn't matter. If you've got value to add, if you're going to make someone money, they don't give a fuck, right? And then I realized, like, and that's why I never talked about my hardships or my struggles. I never asked for help, because I'm like, I'm not going to ask for help from someone because then they're going to think of this and that of me. But it's not like that. If anything, I think you get more respect for sharing your struggles, because one, you're open and honest and authentic about it, and two, the other person feels like they can share with you. That was one of the first things with one of my mentors, that I told him everything. I was authentic. I'm like, look, I left home young, and then I had to do this and that. I lived in my car for this long. I'm a mess. And he goes, okay, this is how I can help out. And then when he was in a tough spot, he goes, hey dog, I'm a fucking mess. Help me out. I'm like, no problem. And that's how it's been for the last few years. And he's my number one mentor and friend. So for me, I think to be authentic is not just, something people should do, but it's better than not saying anything. And yeah, that focus on health, I think is definitely huge. Another thing I wanted to ask you about and chat about, I guess, was YouTube, and I guess you're more public, and how you publicize and push forward in the coaching side of what you do, and yeah, how that kind of started. When did you start going from having your own agency and your own businesses, and then started doing like the coaching and courses and the masterminds and videos on YouTube and stuff?
So honestly, I was going without a direction. I didn't really know where to go exactly. I've opened e-commerce dropshipping stores. I've opened print-on-demand stores. I tried to do my own brand. I started working with other clients, coaching. I started doing the mastermind. So everything, everything was a mess till a couple of years ago, because I didn't really know where to go. I just knew that I wanted to break free from the 9-to-5 job. And honestly, the very first thing that I knew is how to run ads for other people. So I started running Google ads for other people. And then because I started sharing inside Facebook groups, little gems that I find for Google ads and Google Analytics, and I started working with businesses like 4 or 5 years ago, and how to help them scale. Then people saw me as an authority when it comes to scaling, especially with Google ads and Google Analytics, looking at the numbers. So I started working with people one-on-one, consulting. I was doing a really, really good job, because all the people who applied started seeing great results. Then people started giving me out like testimonials that I've worked with Dimitri and he's amazing, and all that kind of good stuff. I kept sharing value without asking for anything in return. And then I said, you know what? This is nice that I'm helping people. I'm making like good money, but like I'm getting exhausted because I'm working so much onto the one-to-one and consulting and the agency, that there is no time. Like I think I hit a level of like 30-40K per month, and then I couldn't scale anymore because I didn't know how to, and I was always tired. So then that was the moment that I said, you know what, man, people are selling all the greatest things about me and about my coaching. and about the way that I teach. So I started helping Matt with the course loans. Then another guy that we started working together. We did the loans together as well, and started people saying good things about my strategies and how I help them scale. So I said, and honestly, this is something. Although I love one-on-one, after some time it gets draining.
Yeah.
Like saying the same things again and again and again. So I said, you know what? Let me focus on bringing like really, really good value via a course. The bad thing with courses is that a lot of people have been scammed because a few people are making some money inside the month with with a drop shipping store, and then all of a sudden they know it all and they start going, they're really, really good at selling themselves because they are selling the dream. Oh, here's my Lambo, here's how I'm traveling. And the reality is that you might know something that doesn't make you a good teacher, or you don't have like all the credentials. And I'm not saying about actually credentials. I'm saying credentials in the years of doing these things, in the testing. Like if I'm lucky and I'm going to go and invest in Bitcoin, and in 1 month I make, from $1,000 I make 5,000, does that make me Bitcoin expert or crypto expert? I don't think so. So honestly, there were a lot of people, and unfortunately, there were a lot of people, trying to buzzing all these people. So it was kind of difficult to try to break through. Although I never someone said something bad about me. But this was a business that it has that disadvantage, and the other disadvantage is that people buy courses, and 90% of them they never get to actually finish them,
Yeah.
nor talk even about applying them.
Yeah.
So when you work with someone one-on-one, I know exactly what to look, what to tell you, what to advise you, what to tell you to change, what we can work together. But when you are buying a course for 500,000, whatever, majority of the people say, I'll go back to that later. There were people that they opened up stores, and they got into programs that they never actually get to open at all, never get to log in to see what's the actual training inside. But this is part of the business that I really, really do enjoy, helping, working with people one-on-one. And for the scaling part, I like to focus, onto the courses, the information training. And 2 times per year, I also host a high ticket mastermind for big e-com sellers that are doing 7 and 8 figures. In Greece, in Zakynthos, actually, where we get to hang out, 14 entrepreneurs from all around the world. We eat together, sleep in the same villa. We have like private chefs. We get to tour around the island and get to help each other. So this is something I've been doing since 2017.
Wow.
And I really, really enjoy it.
That sounds sick. I mean, Greek island, bunch of econ people. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Are most of the people not Greek, and the American and stuff?
Very, very few people are Greek. Actually, in total, I've done it 7 times already. I think in total we're 5 or 6 Greeks. In total, people who are doing really, really good. One thing that I take pride is that I had people from over 30 different countries. United States, Australia, Indonesia, Panama, all over Europe, even Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, like so many crazy, that together you can gather people. And this is the part that I enjoy the most. Not so much about the mastermind, and it's mostly about getting all these people together and getting to chat different cultures. I take pride that I have like friends into over 60 or 70 countries, literally.
It's also it's very full circle for you as well. I mean, you started this entrepreneurial journey by going to that talk in Florida. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Florida, Orlando. You said, right?
Yeah.
And now you're setting that up and you're doing that yourself. And personally, for me, those it's those events where I go there and I'm doing, for me, I always say like entrepreneurship was always this thing, this weird thing I did on my laptop in my room, and everyone thought, and no one else knew what I was doing. My mom to this day doesn't know what the hell I do. And all my friends, they're like, hey, George does some internet thing. I don't know. And then you go to this place where everyone does the same weird thing you do. You're like, oh, you do this? You're like, yeah. And then, you know, like there's so much knowledge that all your friends around your normal place that you live don't understand, that they automatically understand. You're speaking the same language, you're doing the same thing. It's awesome. I mean, and that's what, you know, that's like you said, that's where you started. You know, it costed €3,000, and then you got that ROI with, you know, that first project you did, and now you're doing it yourself. That's very full circle. I mean, that's definitely giving back to the community, right? And at those events, a lot of the time, I know aren't profitable. You know, they might pay a lot, but it's not usually profitable. It's usually the opposite. So I think it's definitely a really good thing that you're doing. It's very full circle as well, because I think the biggest things that happen at those events is what you think you can do changes completely. Like for me, last year, you know, for me, I was a 6 figures person. That's my goal. That's all I wanted to do, right? And then I worked with some people. They're like, yeah, we did 400 grand in 3 months. I go, what? And this was in Bali. And in Bali, there's a lot of e-com entrepreneurs too, in a small community called Canggu. And then I see these guys doing these huge numbers. I go, that's insane. And it took, you know, what I thought was good to the next level. And now that's the type of level that I am operating at, and the businesses and people I'm operating with, it just blows the ceiling out of, you know, what you think is possible. And with that being said, in terms of Mastermind and network and stuff, how did you get in touch with, you know, and chatting with Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and stuff? I saw these pictures.
Honestly, man, it's part of the networking. You know, of course, I don't know them personally, or, you know, I cannot tell you that, oh, we're good friends, we're chatting with Gary Vee and Grant Cardone. But Gary Vee was like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, where he was speaking at an event in San Diego, in Traffic and Conversion Summit, actually. And I go to just hang out, you know, for literally 2 minutes. But what I really liked about this dude, and he's really, really inspirational, is like he walks the walk. He's not only talk. Like he literally practices what he preaches. And we started literally for less than 2 minutes, but I really, really like the fact that he was looking me directly in the eyes. I had like his full attention, and he did that with every single person. Although he had just arrived from the airport, he did that with every single person because this is something that he loves. And I chatted with him for 2 minutes, and I had the full attention. I'm like, I got so inspired from this dude. Like, this was literally in the beginning of, like, I wasn't making any serious money or something like that, but it really got me inspired. I said, you know what, when I grow up as an entrepreneur and start making more money, I want to remain humble. Like, humility for me is a really, really huge factor, because, you know, I see it as, you know, life is a huge giant wheel. And, you know, the people who are you mocking, I'm better than you, I have my car, I have this and that, you know, I've seen people taking like really, really the fall literally, like this, literally. So I won't say that everything for me was perfect. I've gone through lots of ups and downs, but for me it's always remaining, staying humble, and realize that we need to be grateful and as well help as many people as I can along the way. And Grant Cardone, it happened because a friend of mine who is also Greek, here, Spiros Erchos, had communicated with Grant Cardone directly when he came to Athens, and he was kind enough. He said, "Man, brother, I want to do this together with you." So we flew for 1 day to Mykonos, and we got to hang out. Really, really cool. Like, I think that Grant Cardone has been misunderstood a lot.
Yeah.
I had a different opinion for him, to be honest, as well. I think that he was a little bit cocky. He was all about, oh, money, money, money. I'm better than you. But then when I go to spend like almost 2 hours with him, and I saw him how he interacts with his kids, etc., like, he was really, really, really cool. We had 20 minutes only on our disposal, and he said, "Oh, don't worry about the time. Chill." We had, you know, he told us like, "Hey, you can hang out in my villa. We get to eat there." Like, super, super, super cool guy. And I wanted to ask him like, what your showing out to the media, to the social media world, is super, super different than you are. It's like, for me, it's like being an actual persona,
Yeah.
being out to the media. And a lot of people say that, oh, he's cocky. And honestly, I thought the same, that he was. And when I met him, I completely changed my opinion for him, and we had like really, really great fun, and we had like the interview. It was really, really cool.
And that's the thing. I think he talked about that, like in that interview that I saw that he did with you. He's like, look, most people who meet me in America don't like me at the start, and then they get to know me,
Yeah.
right? And for me, I've read all his books. Obsessed will be obsessed will be average 10x, and I had to pre going deep into who he is and what he's done. And I was like, look at this cocky motherfucker. Like, relax. Like, so full on. I'm like, why are you so crazy? I read the books. I'm like, I get it now. I follow his Instagrams, his YouTube. You know, you can't, especially now age, like when you're doing the YouTube, the Instagram, the stories, the Facebook, all this stuff, you can't be inauthentic. And if you're actually a dick, people will see that. But if you're actually someone who's just super energetic and animated because you're passionate about it and you don't have time for bullshit, people will see that too and appreciate it, you know? And I think that's what the story is with Grant Cardone. And I agree sometimes it might come off as brash or hubris or whatever you want to call it, arrogant. And I've seen, a few podcasts, I think a podcast he did with Jordan Belfort where it looked a lot like that and people didn't like it. But I'm like, man, look, firstly, people have off days. This guy has not turned off for 20, 30 years. Like, this guy hasn't turned off. Like, give this guy a break, But it's also like, you get to know the guy and you hear these small stories like, yeah, he's not like, I'll get out of my villa, you have your 20 minutes is up or whatever. Like, chill out, do what you want, like, feel comfortable and stuff. And at the end of the day, he's delivering value. Like, in his books, in what he puts out, he's really delivering value. And that's what I love about him and Gary Vee. These guys are intense people, and for days, I think you mentioned before, it's like a day or two might go past, you're like, what the fuck did I achieve today? And I definitely have those days. Then I'm like, and then you think of, the Gary Vee's and the Grant Cardones, it's like, I could do, have a more efficient day, a more productive day. I could 10x what I do. I could go, all the way, with what I can do, really reach my potential of the day. And that completely changes the perspective of stuff. It's like, did I do what I had to do today? Or how can I do the best? How can I go over, above and beyond in what I want to achieve? And that's what I love about those guys. That's why I've read all their books like crazy. That's why I was like, shit, you got a photo with these guys. That's awesome. But yeah, that's that, man. I'll hit the record button